Way! Banana. That's a classic one, guys. Like that one. This is NFL Straya. I am your co-host, Jaymz Clements. I'm a guy. You can see me on what? The official NBL Supercoach show. The AFL Today show. It's a grand final week. That's pretty big. Some other stuff, like lots of things. I'm here at Larry Armour Studios, and on the other side of this here screen, we're going old school because I'm technically off work today. It's school holiday, so the squid and I have been hanging out looking at dinosaurs. Been sick. It is a bloke. Is the sometimes singer in a band called The Ramshackle Army. He is my mate. He is your mate. It's Gaz. Gaz, what's going on?
Mate, I'm pseudoed up. I'm getting over a cold from the last couple of days. I'm like drugged to the eyeballs. And based on some of the results from this week, I would be forgiven to think I was in a fucking fever dream because this was fucking ridiculous. This game is fucked. We don't know anything, and we're just here talking to ourselves.
I like that. I'll pay that because, look, you could have answered, I've got football fever. I've got finals fever. Off. Here we go. See, that's what a professional would have done, Gaz, but that's all right. This is the Week 4 setup show, the Week 3 wrap. I'll tell you what, as Gaz alluded to, there's a bit of chaos going on in the old NFL. We're going to talk all the way through that. We've got our news. We've got the Week 3 wrap because chaos just still reigns. Like, no, look, I've got some stats about the chaos, Gaz, that we're going to dig into. It is very chaotic. We've got a bunch of yeah-nahs where the setup for this week's show, as we love to say here on NFL Straya, the season doesn't start till bloody Week 5 nowadays. What can you really learn? Well, the cool thing is, what can you learn of the 3-0 teams, of which there are some, and the 0-3 teams, of which there are some, which is crazy. And then I've got one big question for you about the quarterbacks matter. And we're going to dig into that. It's pretty fun. It's pretty gnarly. It's a fun show. We've got our usual weekly awards, the good bloke of the week, all that sort of stuff. So we've got lots to talk about. And also the Eagles put one out the old rear, so we'll dig into that too. Anyway, it's all one big, fun, dumb NFL Straya package. And this is episode 103 of that self-same show, NFL Straya. Let's go! Do it. Gonna make a business decision. I'm going to make so many. I'm just business. Just business. Just call me President Business. I'm Captain Business. Because I'm not going to stunt on business. I'll stunt on you in a second if you ask me another question. Oh, it's just business, man. There's business. Just, I'm Mr. Biz. G'day, I'm Antonio Pierce. And you're listening to NFL Straya. All right, guys. Week 3's in the bag. What a week it was. Starting off with a pathetic showing by my beloved Patriots and finishing in a cacophony
a heartwarmingly pathetic showing, Jim.
I'll tell you, look, this is one of my favorite things. We'll get to it when we wrap the games, but there is something nice when your team stinks and they lose on Thursday. Because then you just you just don't care. You're just fully solely invested in like all the Sunday games. You're laughing from there. You're not really invested in like many of the outcomes beyond what you may or may not have bet on, who you wanted to see happen, go off, whatever, fantasy, all this sort of stuff. It's so much easier when your team stinks. And look, I was proven completely correct. Like, it just feels fine. You're like, moving on, whatever. It was fine. There's plenty, there was that much AFL on the weekend as well. It was like, it's cool, fine, whatever. Speaking of which, your cats have bowed out. What's going on there? Jeez.
Mate, we won't talk too much about AFL, but you know what? To be fair, the Lions had it over us in that second half. There was, they deserve to be in that grand final, and I don't actually know who I'm going to go for.
Nice. That's good. All I know is that I'm going to be going for beers. Right.
Yep.
Let's do it. What are we looking at after week 3? Gazington, well, chaos reigns. How much chaos reigns do you think? Like, if you had to go, Jim, I want to put a bit of a number on the chaos. Would you say 60% of the league has been chaos this year? Would you say 80? Would you say 95? I've actually got some percentages. So.
Oh, right. I was going to say where you pulling that from. It's got to be. It's abnormally high, Jim. You got to say that. Like in some of these weeks that you would literally flick out Carolina. I know you're going to touch base on that one. Like, how the fuck when you literally put out a reel this week on like, oh, you're really digging the whole Baker thing. and we said last week, he's proven that it's, that wasn't a fluke getting to the playoffs last year. This is great. Tampa Bay's going to be fucking awesome. And then
making me look like an idiot. So, which is, look, to be honest, not that hard. But
no.
Here's a percentage about how chaos this year has been. So, away teams and home teams this year. Of the 48 games of National Football League football. Oh, in the National Football League. Oh, the National Football League. Oh, I was thinking the other one. That's one of my... Look, this is like a thing going back to when we lived in the States, guys. Like, anytime, like, on a broadcast, you'd be sitting there on a football Sunday and, like, Chris Collins would be, you're in the National Football League, guys. You just can't do that. The National Football... And I'm like, the National Football League. Yeah, right. It's just like another way of just extenuating your soundbite. Like, you're basically speaking longer. In the National Football League this year, home teams and away teams are 24 and 24.
Yeah.
It's a very nice even split. Now, if you want to talk about chaos, how about away teams being 26, 20, and 2 against the spread?
What, 26, 20?
It's like 57%. That's pretty gnarly. Away favorites are basically 60%. Away home dogs like 56%, which is sick. And then the big one. So if you want chaos reigns, we didn't really dig into this as much as we probably could have like last week. It was just like the lack of scoring. Because like we kind of just go, look, yes, this is still preseason and scoring is down. We get that. And the too high safety thing popped off pretty hardcore during the week as well with the dumbest people in the world going, maybe we should ban it. You're like, well, you idiots. Shut down. But the over-unders, it is pretty chaotic because it is 27 unders to 20 overs. And then I think there's one that's missing off that schedule, but might have been the late game tonight. But that's, again, like 60-40 in percent of your unders, which is pretty crazy. And that's a hefty percentage, I'll tell you. But I was stunned by the away teams against the spread, just covering it like a crazy rate. Like home teams usually smash that. So, but really, the underdogs, that's the thing this week. After week 3, they are still crushing it. Underdogs are crushing it left, right, and center. And this week, you had 0-2 teams going, geez, well, can't go 0-3. Denver, get on the board with a huge win. Carolina, turn to the red rifle and get a huge win. Baltimore, smash Dallas for a huge win. The Rams come from 14 points out 2 different times and get a massive win to beat. And like this is the McVay-Shanahan thing, as I think talked about last week, 10-5 in favor of Shanahan. McVay goes, shut up, nerds. But basically, it's just, and then you had today, the Monday night football games, you had Washington look like they were never going to lose to Cincy, and Jacksonville just stinking up the joint as Buffalo just rolled them just expertly. So, I don't know. The chaos, can we still put this down to it's still preseason, Gaz? What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, there's a few of those things that are now starting to reach extreme behaviors. Like, Cincy always starts slow, but that's real slow. And then we always thought that we were going to be on part of that Bills roller coaster. Well, we're at the high bit. You're just kind of waiting for that shoe to drop now. And we talk about like, the Chiefs have just gone about their business, like haven't been amazingly like over the top impressive. They've been impressive, obviously. They're winning, and but it's never being fed to one particular person. It's like Worthy this week, Rice next week. It's being spread around, but you still feel like they're in second gear. So it still feels like there's a lot still to go. The South has just gone off its fucking head because all of a sudden we'd gone from Atlanta's going to take this to, oh shit, Atlanta weren't great in the first week, and then Saints and Bucks have been fucking shit hot for 2 weeks, and Panthers aren't going to win a game, to that all got flipped on its head this week. And it's just, fucking nuts. An injury supreme. Like, what can we predict out of no one is full strength after 3 weeks? It's nuts.
I had a little bit of a thought. I'm like, hey, who's the best team? Just simple as that. No one knows. Like, maybe Buffalo, but at the same time, Josh Allen's injured. He's got no one to throw to, and their defense stinks, and they haven't lost a game.
Yep.
Like, Kansas City just keep pulling it out of their ass. Are they good?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. And that's it. So we've got a bunch of 3-0 teams, and we'll talk about the 3-0 and 0-3 teams in the year. NAS. But just to put in perspective, 0-3 teams, you're in trouble if you're 0-3. One of the last 120 teams in the last 25 years have made the playoffs after 0-3. Hey, Gaz, who was that team?
This is a complete shot in the dark. But was it the Steelers?
No, it was the 2018 Texans. Crazy.
There you go.
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't actually write that down. I had to remember it. That was nuts.
Yep.
So it's like there's a raft of teams that are 3-0. There's a bunch of teams that are 0-3. And everybody else, you know what we love here.
The creamy middle, mate. The creamy middle.
Oh, it's a creamy middle this year too. Oh, but that's it. Like with no one good, you kind of just like everyone's in the creamy middle. And that's actually awesome. We had to talking about AFL. It was the exact same this year where you had everyone fighting tooth and nail to the very last moment of the regular season. The NFL is set up in the exact way where parity this year just rules, where you don't have like KC are 3-0 but don't look wildly dominant. They could be 3-0, they could be maybe not 0-3, but they could. You know, like Sunday night, they could have lost that game to Atlanta. Like they had a chance. But anyway, we'll get to all that in a second. Other little bits of news, not giant amount of news to come out of this week, apart from Derwin James got suspended for a hit on Pat Frymouth after the game. They're like, you hit him too hard. Yeah, suspended.
Yep.
Which is fair. I'm actually all for it. It's like, don't do that. The one thing that sort of sticks in my head now that I've been like, so a full season of doing an AFL show like we have with the AFL Today show. Like last year we did the betting show, but this one you're like much more sort of locked in on like what is going on league wide in the AFL.
Yeah.
Obviously their big problems like head hunting and like head hits and trying to stamp that out and like the tribunal aspect of that. And the NFL is just like, wow, they've got helmets on.
Yeah.
Concussions are just a thing. We get it. And then Tua gets hit and we've got like other people now being suspended after the fact. I'm all for it because you just sit and watch football on a Monday morning. You're up at 3 a.m. You're just red zone on my iPad. And you still see just like chaos hits, like receivers caught the ball, running backs like just going down, and like the second defender comes over and there's helmet on helmet contact and nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. Which you usually find you're wearing helmets. At the same time, if the NFL was like super serious about like stamping out all this sort of stuff, they'd be like, you're wearing helmets as a last resort.
Yeah.
You're not meant to lead with your helmet. The head to helmet to helmet contact. We know that that's being like actually policed, but it feels like it's also kind of not. So
yeah.
Weird. Anyway, so good job for them at least having a crack at Derwin James.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think it was repeated. It was the fact that it was repeated as well. Like it's a behavior that it's not a once off, Jim.
Yep. Right. Injuries before we get in the wraps. Juzzy Herbs is managing his ankle. He came out of that game against the Steelers as well, which sucked.
Yeah.
It made sense. I think he got sacked the second time and like had been hit a bunch and they're just like,
no.
Joe Alt, actually, they're what?
First rounder
this year, right? Out with an MCL sprain as well.
Yep.
And it's just like, they're still the Chargers. Yeah, they're just injuries, man. No Cooper Kupp for next week already. They've already sort of come out and said, he's not going to play against Chicago. Brock Purdy is day-to-day. He left that game, and Nick Mullins came in, didn't he?
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, that's probably not good. And
this is, and you're going to touch on the next one before I make my point.
And we've also got a bunch of other ones, like Javon Hargrave's out for the season with a triceps. Yeah. I did also see Peck. I don't know what was going on with that one, but there's also Marcus Davenport out with triceps. We've also got Frank Ragnow from the Lions with a torn pec. That's only a partially torn one, so he's only day-to-day. And I'm like, that sounds horrible. Just sit out the season, man. Like, what are you partially torn? That might be worse. Like, Jesus. So there's a raft of them, and Sam Laporta with an ankle injury as well. So just like bang, 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 bang. The triceps pec ones, they always seem to sort of pop off early in the season as well, which sort of sucks, but here we are. What did you want to hit on there? Was it Hargrave?
Yeah, no, it was more about the Niners in general, and it just shows how much luck needs to be a part of a team making it all the way through to the big dance and that sort of stuff. Because if you go back to a few years ago, Shanahan had talent around him, but if you look at the running back position, and they were just every year upon year, it was just ravaged by injuries. All right, next man up. They got CMC. And then they got, they've done a couple of reasonably healthy years and gone deep into the playoffs. But already we're talking about CMC, fuck knows when. Kittle was out this week. Debo was out this week. Purdy, day-to-day, Hargrave gone for the whole season. And this is only week 3. So by the time they get people back, assuming that they do, CMC's was 6 weeks they were talking, estimated, which will bring him back week 7 or 8. These guys could be under 500 by then, depending on what the injuries around them are like.
Yeah, it's like we sort of tend to talk about how like 1 or 2 teams each year just get smashed, and you're like, oh, so like the prior years playoff teams, well, there's at least 2 that always sort of miss out, right?
Yep.
There's enough switch over, and you like look at the Niners, you're like, oh, that's just a big summit to get by. Devonta Smith out with a concussion in that game as well.
Yeah, that was a tough one because they're having a crack at the refs because the Saints, they played to the whistle. Devonta had already stopped. He was down. His helmet came off, and then the defender came over the top and dove into him. But, they played to the whistle, right? So he'd already gone down, was almost knocked out cold. That was done. There was another couple for us in that game. Be interesting to see where Slay goes because he was driven as part of a block off the sideline and into the bench, which was a penalty, but he left the game. So it'll be interesting to see what his leg's like. And then we had a couple go down, like Lane Johnson had a concussion. He went off with a concussion as well. Tried to play and was vomiting everywhere. So they went, mate, you're fucking dizzy as fuck. Come off. So yeah, a few of those to come through, and we'll see how it goes.
And there's also a couple of injuries on the Seahawks defense and Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, but there's no crazy sort of info on just how serious they were. I think Mike McDonald came out and was like, there was a piece. He doesn't know how bad the Williams one is. He hurt his midsection, and like Byron Murphy had a hammy, so that sucks for the Seahawks. But anyway, right, that's a lot of stuff. Let's do some raps. Week 3 raps. Hey, the Jets beat the Pats. Pretty handily too. It was a rough game, I'll tell you. 24-3. Aaron Rodgers slinging it. It went exactly as I expected. Basically, the Pats' offense is non-existent. The defense, coming off an OT game the week prior against Seattle on the short week, just ran out of gas, and just the Jets look crisper, better, whatever. The most interesting aspect of this for me was like watching the Jets offense and going, right, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, ? Holy crap, look at him go. I'd snagged him in fantasy because like I've got one of my teams is just O-O-O-I-R-D-O. Like it's just rough as guts. And Braylon Allen, you're like, sure, Pats, they'll probably give up the ghost, and they did. Garrett Wilson and co were pretty fine. Braylon Allen, like, he just looks quick. It's awesome. It's so weird that they have the oldest dude in the NFL and the youngest on the same team.
Yep.
In Rodgers and Braylon Allen. Whereas the Pats, they couldn't get anything going. Like Drake May got out there as well for a little bit. We get to see him. He was fine. And you're like, why not? But he also got like sacked twice. And you're like, don't fucking bubble wrap.
Yep.
Keep him in the fucking garage. What are we doing? But it was because Brisket's just like, whatever, man, and just was out for a bit. They go Drake, and away we go. But they couldn't get the run game going. No Ramondre. Fuck all Antonio Gibson. Even like Hunter Henry and co. They just nothing. There's they had they got 61 yards in the air, and they had 78 yards on the ground. Gaz, it's not good.
No. Look, I made an unfortunate call in our tipping last week. Under the assumption, I messaged you about this, under the assumption that, the New York still weren't exactly clicking last week, and that defense looked like it had a few holes in it, and that your guys may just do enough to cover the line. And fuck was I wrong. Like, Brisket, 98 yards himself, that's not great. And then on the other side, like Aaron Rodgers was 27 of 35, his old efficient self. But I think the most important thing was he was out of the pocket for a lot of this. A lot of it was on the run. Like any doubt that you had about his Achilles, it was he just looked confident, and I guess he was marching down the field efficiently, and that defense is still pretty good, Jim.
That's it.
That Jets defense.
Well, I think that was kind of the thing. Like the Jets defense hadn't really showed up in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You just like knew it was going to happen at some point. Against the Pats, sucked in, whatever. The Pats are bad.
7 sacks, Jim. 7 sacks and 50. Fuck, I'm just looking at the stats lines here. 7 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and 15 QB hits. 15 QB hits, and he only dropped back 18 times, Jim.
Yeah, the O-line is not good.
No.
Not good. No. And like this is the thing. So people go, the Pats aren't that bad. No, look, this is exactly what I expected. I expect them to be pretty fucking bad because that O-line is shit house. The defense can only do so much, obviously.
Yep.
And when you start losing dudes on that D, like it just falls apart. And you're like, you can't fight back. As soon as they get down by like more than a touchdown, it's fucking all over Red Rover. Mm-hmm. And I think we sort of got lulled into like I've just been so pessimistic about this team anyway. Like I looked at the Cincy when you're like, that's not going to mean anything. What are you doing? And they go to overtime against the Seahawks. You're like, sure. But at the same time, it's still this early. No one knows what the fuck's going on. This is much more indicative of what the Pats are.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, Giants beat the Browns in Cleveland. 21-15.
Jesus Christ.
The Browns are shit.
Mate, that's fucking... So bad. I only watched highlights of this game, and, there wasn't fucking many of them. Obviously, Malik Neighbors is pretty good, so that was like 50. His 2 touchdowns were 50% of the highlights. But I don't know what to make of this Browns team. Or at least we thought last year, all right, they'll take it on the ground, just feed forward. Watson he's what he is at this point. About that defense will get them over the line, but there's nothing to this New York offense except Neighbors. And
Danny Dimes loved it. He shredded him.
Like 236
yards and a couple of touchdowns. He's like, yeah, I'm worth that contract. Malik Neighbors is like, please don't get me killed. Like, the thing that stood out to me more, like the Neighbors stuff, like Neighbors was awesome. Like he was just flying around. You're like, this dude rules. He's like, I don't know, Megatron 2.0, maybe not quite as big, but he's just fucking fast as well. You're like, this sucks. The thing that stood out most to me was like Cleveland. There was just this sheer ineptitude on offense where you're like, last year, Joe Flacco had this offense singing like it was fucking Pavarotti. Like it was absolutely singing like it was Gaz from the Ramshackle Army. And it was incredible. And then you watch Deshaun Watson go, I don't know what I'm doing. Clunk into the ground. I don't know what I'm doing. Sail it over the top of Amari Cooper's head. Amari Cooper took such a sick fucking catch in this game. You're like, that was awesome. And then it was completely pointless because he fucking sailed the next one over his head. And you're like, oh, yeah, that checks out.
Yep.
And he's just got this confused look on his face. He's like, what am I doing? And everyone's like, we don't fucking know. Can we get Jaymz in, please?
You gotta do something, mate. Like the season's fucking. I know we're going to talk about a Cook team, that teams. I know they've got a win versus the 1-3, but these guys can't do any damage in that division at all. But I think that I just referenced the stats line in the previous game, but the stats line for the defense from New York in this game: 8 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and 17 QB hits. That's a lot.
That screams, my O-line hates me.
That's a fucking lot. Yeah. Dexter Lawrence himself, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and 4 QB hits. That's a monstrous game.
It's the weird thing about the Giants and like how they suck so badly those first 2 weeks. Like, that defense has some dudes. Like, just do something. But
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that we've already said, since the beginning about the New York defense is all of their investment is in the D line. Now, what we've been saying about Watson and this passing game for the Browns since week 1 is he had something like the least amount of air yards or passes past the line of scrimmage since the records were kept. And you're like, wow, you know what? If you don't have a deep threat, you just can't make this Giant secondary pay. And that's exactly what happened. It'll be interesting to see what happens next week when this same secondary has to take on fucking CeeDee Lamb and Dak coming off a throwing their toys out of the cot incident.
Love it. Chicago lost in Indy 16-21. Chicago put up a fight-ish, but it was more the Indy's defense actually showed up. Layer 2 Latu, that's it. Latu. He had that strip sack basically in the fourth quarter that won them the game. He loved it. And then like they had him on the sideline. They're just like showing him as they sort of drove down and won the game, and he's just fucking beaming. Like, it was so cool. It was such a nice moment. And like Chicago's offense, like it still stinks, and they just could not run it because it was weird. Caleb had his best passing game. He had finally threw some touchdowns.
Yep.
363 yards, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yep.
And like instead, they were, oh, well, remember DeAndre Swift? Yeah, he's fucked. It's this is shit. So it sucked. Like the poor Chicago fans, like, hey, we got a good Caleb game. But our run game sucked, and our defense couldn't slow down. Well, Anthony Richardson just might be bad. Well, we'll get to this, but Jonathan Taylor, like steamrolling dudes, crushing it, 2 touchdowns, 110 yards on the ground. Every time they got near the goal line, he's like, I'll just run this in. What do you reckon? And Chicago's D's like, oh man, okay, that's it. Like, oof, it was rough. This was a tough game to watch. There
were definitely moments where you're like, these are some real young ass quarterbacks, because there was two interceptions by each quarterback, and some of them were like jumped routes where you're going, oh fuck. Like if you were the wide receiver, as soon as the ball was leaving his hand, you would have gone, don't throw it to me.
Me?
This cunt's just standing right here. He literally was, pick 6, see you later. Right? That's wasn't not great. But yeah, that Rome guy, Rome's pretty good, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the weird thing. Like the Bears have got like all these awesome receivers, and they got no O-line, and you're like, it sucks.
Yep.
Texans lost in mini, 34-7, and it was not even a good 7. Like they were bad. The shutout in the first half. CJ Stroud running for his life. It felt like all the time. This is just Brian Flores just going ring, 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 ding, 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 just firing up blitzes. And then they just gave up the blitz because they already fucked him up and had him just freaking out. 10 different Viking defenders had at least 2 QB pressures. That's fucking insane.
That's wild.
Like, what are we doing here? That's just nuts. And Darnold didn't kill him. So you could almost say that Darnold wasn't bad.
He's Mr. Consistency. He's like, do we go back to your early season prediction of MVP favorite Darnold? I don't know, man. That's fucking
up there. He's like in the 10 or something now.
4 TDs, only 181 passing yards, but 4 TDs, like
it's pretty good. 17 and 28, like just awesome.
And Aaron Jones, like, look, obviously the trade, the way that the Packers are ticking along, and when you see the Raiders don't really have much left, it sounds like, that what's happened at running back seems to have worked out for both the Packers and Vikes.
Yeah.
But fuck, Aaron Jones is definitely showing he's still got a fair bit left, right? Yep. 150 yards from scrimmage.
This is like one of those games, though, I think, when you're the Houston, you're like, I think we're good. Like, we're okay. Like, these games just happen when you're a young team. So you just go, fuck it, move on. And you're sure that D'Amico Ryans is, like, all on top of that.
Yep.
And, like, without an actual proper running back, when you're like, we'll give it to Cam Akers. That'll be fine. It wasn't fine.
No,
it was never going to be fine. It was horrible. He had 21 yards on 9 carries.
Yep.
And, yeah, when you can't do that and your QB's getting fucking touched up every time he touches the ball. Boom, 34-7. We'll talk about the Vikings again later. Eagles 15, Saints 12. You should have lost this game, Gaz. What the hell?
I was fucking like, I know the over. Do you might have this? What was the over under total score? It's got to be in the 40s, right? It would have had to be in the 40s.
Saints Eagles, they had the best offense in the league.
Yeah,
up against a pretty tough, like shitty defense in the first 2 weeks of the Eagles. Like, yeah, it would have been at least 4.
It was fucking wild to have this at 27 points, but make it worse, it was 3-0 at the end of the third quarter, Jim. It was fucking nuts. But I think the strangest part of this game is the Eagles were not having any trouble moving the ball with the run. Basically, Saquon only touched the ball like twice in the first quarter. We had no AJ. It was all Smitty, and then Dallas got it, and we couldn't put points on the board. It was the end zone interception. It was the Hurts fumble. It was the going for it on fourth down multiple times. I'm okay with the aggression, but there's just, it goes too far, Jim. We went for it on fourth down with 14 seconds to go in the first half on 4th and 1 within field goal range with one timeout. The best that could happen, and we went with a fake tush push to the outside that got stuffed. But the best that was going to happen was you were going to make 1 to 2 yards. You were going to get a fresh set of downs. You were going to use your timeout and get one shot at the end zone, likely miss it because they know what you're doing, and then take 3 points. Take the fucking 3 points and go get some oranges and a bit of a rub down, Jim. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so we survived Hurts brain-numbing fumbles and some really questionable Nick Sirianni play calling. But the defense showed up. It was fucking wild, the change from what the Saints were able to do in the last couple of weeks and what was able to be run on us, we're giving up like 250 yards a game, to the defense that showed up what Vic Fangio prepared this week. It was fucking nuts. Held, what was it? 89 yards for the rushing when we've been allowing 250, something like that. Carr wasn't over 100 yards passing until the last quarter, and that took Slade going down with an injury and them taking advantage of a second year, second string wide receiver, cornerback. But yeah, it took us. Dallas got it, stepping up. It took a 65-yard rush from Saquon, and then it's holding on. So it was a fucking weird game. I don't know what to make from either team of it, apart from that we've got sort of a defense now. I hope that we can continue that, and it proved that the Saints may be regressing to the mean, and maybe the Cowboys defense was fucking shit, and the Panthers defense was also fucking shit.
In a surprise twist, I'm not convinced by the Saints.
Yeah, funny that. You just want your mate Allen to be fired.
Kind of. But 3rd and 16, Gaz. I'm no footballing coach. But I feel like if you're going up against a team that's 3rd and 16 and doesn't have A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith out there, you might go, probably should keep an eye on the one bloke who can catch a ball and actually run with it. Dallas got it. And, yeah, that's what happened. Saved your ass.
61 yards down. Yeah, we needed that to bust it down there. Got him open. 61 yards down to inside the 10. Saquon in there. Go for 2. See you later. And then Reed Blankenship, the one of our white secondary, Jim. White secondary. Picks off David Derek Carr to end the game.
Chaos.
Good times.
I'd really like to thank Ian Baker for just making me look like an idiot from the shorts earlier in the week. Chargers 10, Steelers 20, 2-2-0 teams. Now 1-1-2 team and 1-3-0 team. The Steelers, this was the Spider-Man meme. This game, like, you didn't see a goddamn skerrick of this on the odd red zone. It was hilarious.
I did not. I'm letting you talk all about this game because I saw fucking zero except Herb's injured.
I was literally like watching and going, isn't there another game on? Like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, and then switched it over, had it on the big TV, Steelers, Chargers. I'm like, oh yeah, sick. And nothing happened. It was absolutely brutal. It was like Juzzy Herbs goes out and you're like, this game is already fucked. And now it's like worse. But the Steelers, this was the cool thing about this game. They went, all right, Juzzy Fields, do like 2 things. And he's like, all right, I'll do that. And I'll not fuck him up. And he had a really good game.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the Juzzy Fields that I believe in. Like, this is the Juzzy Fields that I can get behind. And when you combine that, and like, this is the biggest thing, and we'll talk about this when we talk about Denver, like, if you just get vaguely fucking competent quarterback play, you're laughing because that defense is insane. They held the Chargers to the 10 points, obviously, shut them out in the second half. Obviously, as mentioned, Juzzy Herbs goes out. And you're like, who the fuck is the Chargers backup? It turns out it's Heineken. There you go.
Yeah.
But Juzzy Fields is really, really just solid again. 245 yards, threw for a touchdown, 1 interception, but they sort of like let him do this a little bit more, and it really sort of paid off because this was 10-7 at the half. Steelers the only team that scored in the second, and boom, where they went. 61 yards rushing as a team. Like, this is J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, like that sort of Baltimore combo that have been running roughshod over everybody. They stayed out of East and everything this week, and the Chargers still go fucking stomp. So, bit weird, bit shit. But the key there for me is like, yeah, if Fields continues just to be competent, like Russell Wilson's like, oh man,
you can't. How do you? Well, I mean, we know. We said from day one that the second half of the season is the brutal part for the Steelers. They need to be at least 50 at 500, and we know they're not convincing in any way, shape, or form. But how do you turn to Rusty now?
You can't. You just can't.
You can't.
Send him down to Miami. Let's make that happen. Broncos 26, Tampa Bay 7. Because fucking sure. This was, so I don't know how much of this one you saw as well, but this one was weird as fuck, Gaz, because this was classic Tampa Bay where it's like, today, nothing is going to work. Just nothing. Just everything is going to be shit. Like, there was, Bo Nix looked fucking, again, this is what I talked about, right? The competent QB play, let the defense run rampant, and you're laughing. And finally, Bo Nix looked competent. So the first drive, he goes 4 of 4 for 70 yards. And there's a 2-yard rushing touchdown. Laughing. Bo Nix feeling great. They come with an INT after a 3-and-out earlier. 4th and inches. Jaleel McLaughlin gets in. Denver are like, we're fucking cooking now. And Baker could just get nothing happening. Like, it was just like blood out of a stone kind of stuff. And they just sort of managed the clock in the second half. And like, before you blink, this game was over. Like, it was such a weird. Like, I'm just watching this. I think the squids are up with me at this point. And I'm like, is that game happening? What? Wait. It's about to fucking... Why is this like right at the end of the fourth quarter? And it was just over. Like, they just managed the clock perfectly and the game finished. And like, Tampa Bay never had a fucking look in, and that's how you manage a game. It was awesome. So, they just choked them out.
It's weird that like... Yeah, everything we saw, the few highlights that I did see, everything that we'd seen, I guess, a little bit, scrambly and a little bit of off the play shit, just making shit up that have been working for Baker, seem to be working for Bo Nix. I'm like, look at that. There's that 20-yard scramble from this dude. Like,
Friday, they pissed in the same fountain. It was weird.
Yeah, that's it. It was really fucking weird. But then you've got Baker on the other side, dropping back to pass 33 times and only putting up 160 yards. You're like, that's you do realize you've got Godwin and Evans down there, right? Like,
just give Denver a lead.
Yeah,
and this is kind of what happens.
Let that defense go. Yeah, it was surprising. Cortland Sutton showed up, did some things, but apart from that, it was kind of spread around. It was only 200 yards for Bo Nix, but another 40 something on the ground, and he's done enough. Sure, he's got his first win.
That's all we need, competency. And Bucky Irving is like way better than White. So there you go. Packers 30, Titans 14. Well, we both took the Titans, and we were wrong because
yes, we were.
Hey, Matt LaFleur might be the best coach in the NFL. What the fuck? Malik Willis was good. Revenge! What a great revenge game as well. He's like, hey, remember last week where we ran it and I didn't have to do anything? Check this out. 30-yard pass.
Yeah.
Check this out. Another 30-yard pass. He had 4 30-plus yard passes. It was insane. The dude's never
still 70 yards on the ground.
Unbelievable. So he was really, really good. Green Bay's defense then just fucked up Will Levis and the Titans. Like, they couldn't, it was weird because Green Bay couldn't run the ball after being able to run it so much last week. And this is what we sort of talked about, right? The Titans will have seen that and gone, right, we can counter that because what are they going to do? Kill us with Malik Willis?
Yeah.
And then they did. Killed by Malik Willis. So the Titans, like, they still got another stupid Will Levis interception. It's just like he can't help himself. I love it.
No.
At least he didn't get like, what the fuck are you doing from the sideline from Callahan? But either way, Packers, that is a big win. And we're not going to hit on them in the 3-0 and the 0-3 teams because they're 2-1. But they lose a weird fucking stupid game to your Eagles in Brazil in week 1 and have now won 2 with Malik Willis without Jordan Love. That is fucking found money.
Good. That's like, fucking good. Yeah.
Jordan Love goes out. You're like, that team is cooked. They're fucked. They're 2-1. That's awesome. Tennessee, we'll talk about them again in 0-3 teams, but they're shit. Panthers 36, Raiders 22. Gaz, what the fuck? That is silence. Red Rifle goes bang. He had 8 different receivers catching balls. Is it because he can see them? And Bryce Young is just like, who's over there? He's like jumping up. I can't see on top of this guy in front of me. The Raiders are abysmal as well. Like Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers had 7 catches, 81 yards between them. I think I talked them up on this week's fucking like a short about the fantasy dudes as well.
Yeah.
And like down 33-15, Minshew threw a ball to Devontae Adams. He's like, why are you doing that? That's just fucking stupid. And now Gardner Minshew is being fucking chewed out by his coach after the game. And they're like, yeah, we might make a QB change. And you're like, that was quick.
Yeah.
Like you fucking beat Baltimore last week. Then you lose to the worst team of the season so far. Bang. And here we go. That was absolutely incredible. 36 points by the Panthers.
Yeah, what is it? The Panthers scored. The Panthers alone scored as many points as the rest of the South combined this week. It was Andy Dalton's first 300-yard passing and 3 touchdown game in like 5 years or some shit. But also, like, how wrong are we all going? But just poor Bryce Young is being put in an impossible situation. They've just traded away all his possible weapons. Now, I get that it's Vegas, right? So, like, we'll calm our farms. But, like, we've just said you've got nothing around you. And then Andy Dalton they were fucking good. The touchdowns over the top, then the end zone where only his receiver could get it. Fucking bang. See you later. It looked good, Jim. I can't believe I'm saying this about Andy Dalton.
You're right, though. The first one that he had like was right in the pocket to Deontay Johnson. It just like landed in his arms, back corner of the end zone. None of the safeties in the corners like get on top of it. That was perfect. And you're like, that's competent. The weirdest part is how racist everybody is when talking about Andy Dalton and saying that, all gingers look the same.
Yeah.
I have pointed out, though, however, that if you face meld us, we are Andy Dalton.
Yep. But even Chuba Hubbard stepped up, actually developed a run game, 114 on the ground for him, plus another 55 in the air. So like a good game from scrimmage. Yeah, it's
Pats and Raiders. They are who I think they are, right? Like, I think when you play results a little bit too much sometimes, like you go into this season, the Raiders beat fucking Baltimore out of nowhere. Like they're down 10 in the fourth quarter. It was bullshit. The Jets beat the Pats beat Cincy in week 1. It's bullshit. Like these teams are fucking bad. We're just saying. Yeah. Miami, Seattle, there's another bad team. Without Tua, 24-3. Seattle sort of ran out of gas in the second half of this one, but they'd already done enough damage with Charbonnet, and I was really impressed.
DK pass over defender, like Jesus Christ.
But even just lock it in the slot, right, just to keep hitting him time and time and time again, just to keep moving the chains was really impressive. It's like their defense, like the Mike McDonald defense, I think will be better as the year goes on, as long as some of them stay healthy. It really sucks that Leonard Williams is out and stuff. But Seattle are just competent. Talk about 3-0 teams. We'll talk about them again later. But yeah, Miami just reach for the Skylar Thompson. I don't think he's the answer.
I just watched it. Yeah, I kind of watched a little bit of this and I turned it off because it's just fucking sad about the pick that I had. I wanted Miami to be my red hot team to actually carry it through into the cold weather this year, and then like Tyreek Hill just can't do much. Achan, like they're just, when you've got no risk of the deep threat, which their game is based on, like you just stack the box, and Achan had no room, and fuck, it's just sad.
Detroit 20, Arizona 13. This game was really exciting, and then it wasn't. And Detroit, the arse just keeps falling out of their offense, and it's weird. Like it's so inefficient, and I don't understand why it's not more efficient, considering last year it was really efficient. But at least Amon Ra got going. He looked awesome in this game too. But they both teams came out and just went bang, 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 and then just it settled down into fuck all. Like it was weird. There was, of the 33 points in this game, 30 of them came in the first half. Like it was so fucking strange that it just. And like Arizona, this is what they do. They'll just stick around. Like they're not world breakers on defense by any fucking stretch of the imagination, but like to at least stymie this weird, inefficient Detroit team into being and staying inefficient was pretty impressive. and they were still there down the stretch with a bit of a crack at it. Just couldn't get it over the line. So
yeah, that's what I mean. That's legit why I picked Arizona to cover the spread, because I thought they'd just grind that out that little bit with a few more weapons with Kyler this year, but it wasn't to be. But that running game for Detroit seems kind of unstoppable.
Yeah, that's the
thing.
thing.
Montgomery and Gibbs they just punish her. As soon as one gets to take a break, the other one just steps in.
And then you can't run on them. Like they just killed fucking Arizona's run game with Jaymz calmed out, and away they went. Like just fucking all over. Ravens 28. How about them Cowboys 25? Ooh. Baltimore have got to stop doing this like Lamar and shitting down their leg. Like you got to hold it in. Just like Lamar, just hold it in. Just try it. No, they're just shitting down their leg late in these games. They at least held on to win this game. But wow, Track the Cedo season is on. I love this. I'm all about the Derrick Henry stuff. The weird part was how they kept talking about his diet. And it's like, he doesn't fucking eat artificial sugars. And you're like, yeah, he probably shouldn't. Or he doesn't eat before 5. I'm like, that's fucking weird. No gluten. You're like, yeah, checks out. There's like nothing, no dairy. Oh, yeah, cool. It's like, yeah, he's Derrick Henry. It's like, he is a fucking beast. And he's got a sick, weird thing. And they keep going to, hey, what do you reckon, Tom Brady? And he's like, oh, yeah. Checks out. You're like, yeah, Tom Brady's commentary is off to a bad start. But anyway, just a weird game where the Ravens completely controlled it, Gaz, and then they didn't.
Yeah, it was efficient, let's call it. The first couple of drives, it was just Lamar just marched down, and you're like, who the fuck are you going to cover? It was Lamar busting to the outside, and then Henry, old school, straight up the guts between the tackles, and it was just fucking strong. And then Dallas has got not much to go on. It literally CD, and CD was getting frustrated and give me the ball and nothing. They tried the run game with the 3 running backs, and then a bit of a scramble with Dak, and I think they did an end around with Turpin, or rush with Turpin at one point. And they just can't get that run game going. On the other hand, you can't stop the run, and they couldn't last week. And now you're taking on Jackson and Henry. Henry put up 150 fucking yards and 2 TDs. And Lamar put 87 as well as being 12 of 15 in the air. But once again, as you said, they just seemed to fucking stop in the second half. And guess what happened, Jim? Garbage time Dak came out. Let's pad those stats in the second half, even when you're getting fucked. Like, let's just make it that we make it not look as bad as it. And they technically had a chance.
They were there.
Could come back. But a couple of things in that. Did you see the what's intentional grounding, Jim? Because based on what happened in that end zone, I now officially don't know.
Nice. Yeah, that was fucking weird.
So for those who didn't see it, Dak was clearly in the end zone, gets tackled as he's fallen down slightly outside the end zone. Before he goes down, he throws the ball to a offensive lineman with no receiver in the area. It gets called illegal touching. I mean, to me, Jim, he's in the tackle box, doesn't make it past the line of scrimmage, and there's no receiver in the area. That's legit fucking intentional grounding, which would be a safety. But no, illegal touching was sure it was a penalty, but there's apparently a loophole where, wow, the intentional, no, that penalty kind of overrode the other one. Like, what the fuck, mate?
I love it. It's a great loophole. We should have just been doing this the entire time.
The whole fucking time.
The back one of your linemen, you're laughing.
Yeah. Anyway, and then obviously the sleuths around the lip reading are all trying to work out what the fuck CD said to Dak as he was walking off. But my favorite part of that game, apart from Dallas losing and now being 1-2, is the interview afterwards to Jerry Jones, and it was like, Desert Henry, he was training in Texas, in Dallas actually, in the off season, and was voicing how keen he was to come to Dallas. Why didn't you pick him up? Noting the shit run game that you've got. We couldn't afford Henry, Jim.
We couldn't afford that Eric Henry.
What do you mean? You couldn't? Well, when you want to buy the mansion, but you live in a different type of house, Jim, you can't just afford the mansion. Well, hang on. That's the least valued position, and you wanted to get the guy who's the best at it.
Tough.
Yeah, you could have made it work. Anyway, it's tough scenes for Dallas at the moment. They got to sort out that defense. They can't stop anything on the run, but luckily they're taking on the Giants this week, so it'll be a bit of a get right
game incoming. 24-27. The Niners come up short against the Rams because the Rams came back fucking flying at them. Kyron Williams was massive, huge game for him. He basically turned the momentum by himself with like that. What was it, the second or third quarter? They just had this drive that just kept going. And it just fucking completely just sucked the air out of the Niners' sails. And they then piled on 20 points in the second half. And the Niners just ran out of dudes. It's like, well, here's Juwan Jennings time and time again. Who else we got? Oh, nobody. Fuck. That's not good. So what about Jordan Mason? Look, he's doing fine, but anytime we get anyone near the red zone, we're not going to bother. And it's like just fucking strange. Played right into the Rams' hands, and they came flying out of absolutely nowhere. I thought this game was over. And it wasn't.
I stopped paying attention because for the exact reason, I'm like, it's the Niners. They'll just control the clock, run out the game, take it home, try and get healthy. But no. And how's Juwan Jennings like? What's his most receptions in a game before this has got to be like, what, 3? Like, and then, you'd hate to be paying AU all that fucking money and have gone through a fucking off season of distraction and fucking around and wanting out of town and literally everyone around him drops and you're like, all right, now's your chance to shine. Sunshine.
But nope. It was remarkable because I think they're up 14-zip and then they're up 21-7 still, and they just couldn't salt it away. And like the defense just sort of, they missed a field goal in there as well, which really just hurts. And I think they missed a field goal, and the Rams came back and scored that last touchdown, I want to say, which was insane. It was just like such a good fucking drive. And Stafford's just like, I'm slinging it to nobody. Check this out. This is what I do. Anyway, let's speed all this rest of this up. KC 22, Falcons 17. Hilarious. They just keep doing it, Gaz. We can't let him get away with this. And he just keeps on getting away with it. 22-17. Mahomes, ridiculous. Rice is awesome. Juju got in. I'm like, just throw it to Kelsey. Just give me, like, come on, man. You got to help this bet get over the line. Did not happen. The Falcons just almost couldn't get out of their own way at times as well, though, down the stretch, and really fucking shot themselves in the foot. This was a really, like, even though it was only 22-17, it was still a very fun Sunday night football game. Yeah,
it felt kind of close. Like, it wasn't high scoring, but there was shit going on. As you said, look at 22-14 going into that last quarter, and you're like, oh, you know what? It's one Kirk Thuggins drive away here. But Bijan, 1.9 yards a carry, Jim. He had it for 16. He had it 16 times for 31 yards. That's not great. But Drake seems to be a favorite target. Obviously, Mooney's got a really good connection with Kirk.
He fucking loves Mooney. He's hilarious.
He's
like, my favorite dude in the world is Darnell Mooney. Check this out.
And even, Pitts is putting up 60, like not spectacular, but it's kind of more along the lines of you expect of a guy not blocking for Arthur Smith. And how's our white boy running back?
Carson Steele. How's his sister getting married? And they're like watching it on the big screen. That was weird as. It's like, oh, well, we could only get the venue. We had to book it a year in advance, and this is the only time they could do it. Like, who the fuck gets married on a Sunday in football season? Like seriously, I'm not even joking. Like, what the fuck? That's just weird. Like, don't do that.
Yep.
Like, if all of my mates who got married when we lived in the States, none of them got married on a fucking Sunday in football season.
Yeah.
That's absurd. Like, oh, my brother's an undrafted free agent. He's probably not going to be playing for the fucking Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I don't care, lady. What are we doing here? But at the same time, you're basically having an awesome big watch party, so that's fine. But Jesus. And he was fine. Like he's also, get touched once, sort of running back. Cool. The second tackle's going to fucking kill me, and away we go.
Yep.
But still, Rice is just unstoppable at times. KC still would be able to pull this out their ass. It's some sort of weird fucking black magic, isn't it? It's just like, I don't know how they keep doing it. I don't know. Like Andy Reid must have like fucking voodoo dolls and shit that he's sticking pins into. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't Mahomes' most efficient game by any stretch of the imagination. He only put up 217 yards with 39 attempted passes. Usually, if he's putting up 39, it's a lot more than that. And his longest pass was like 27 yards, which is usually not him because he's throwing in step for his receivers. So usually someone's got separation. But Kelsey just doesn't seem... He's just not there. I mean, he's a bit distracted, mate.
Yep. Can't imagine why or how. Jags 10, Buffalo 47. Monday Night Football.
What the fuck, Jim?
An absolute shit pumping. In just like the great tradition of shit pumpings. Like Jacksonville, we'll talk about them in the 03 teams, but they're fucked. Like they just stink. Like they're just really, really bad. This was such a cool start to Monday Night Football as well. You don't have Troy and Joe Buck on the call for this one. They do the other game. And this is the slightly earlier one, like 45 minutes beforehand. And Buffalo is fucking psycho. Like they're just like, Monday Night Football. Everybody here is shit-faced. We've jumped through 1 million tables, probably all on fire as well. Like it's just fucking, yeah. The vibe is high. And then Buffalo's opening drive was sick. And you're like, this game is wicked. And then the Jags were just like, hello. Just and so bad. Just so bad. Like 3 and out straight away. You're like, oh, they're fucked. And Buffalo scored a touchdown on the next drive. You're like, whoa. The only weird part was I think they missed the PAT on the first one. And you're like, that's fucking strange. But anyway, they score on the second drive anyway. You're like, this is fucking maybe over already? Question mark. Jags kick a field goal. Buffalo score another touchdown. You're like, what the hell, man? This game is nuts. And they were just fucking flying. You get an interception. And then what did Buffalo do after that, Gaz? Another fucking touchdown. Woo! Buffalo absolutely just cruising. Just going fucking, all we do is chew gum and score touchdowns, and I'm all out of fucking gum. Like, it was nuts.
I don't want to ruin the illusion. Well, I mean, for you, you're a media mogul, right? I don't want to ruin the illusion for the listeners out there, the couple that we've got, but we don't get paid, Jim. So on Tuesday when Monday Night Football is occurring, I have meetings and work to do, and I've got a TV in here, and I put it on there, and I just kind of muted and watched that thing. I was running a little bit late, Jim, because the meeting was kind of important, and I turned it on after the first quarter, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? This game was over at the beginning of the basically 3 drives in for the Bills. They got the ball 3 times. They scored 3 touchdowns. It was fucking Dunskies, and Lawrence didn't look like he could do a fucking thing. There's the Hamlin interception, so that was fucking cool on Monday Night Football at home. He gets the interception and hugs and love all around. But this was fucking depressing. If you were anything to do with the Jags, had any love of Dougie P, had Travis Etienne in your fucking fantasy league, like it was just not good.
34-3 after the first half, and you're just like, we're just watching Commanders Bengals. Like this game is done, and away they went.
Yeah, and like how early did the there was a lot of backup quarterback here. We even saw your mate Matt. We were watching at the end, Jim. We were watching Mac Jones and Mitch Trubisky, 2 former first rounders who are now coming in at Buffalo when the game's fucking over in the saddest display of ex-first rounders.
White boy quarterbacking at its finest.
Holy shit.
It was gross. But anyway, that Commanders-Bengals game was sick. Because the Bengals came flying back and gave themselves a chance at the end, but just sort of left it a little bit too late. What was it? 38-33 in the end. I'd loaded up on Jamar Chase going bang, and he went bang. 2 touchdowns, 118 yards. He was awesome. Unfortunately, Jaden Daniels went, that's cute, Jim. Check this out. Bang, off he went. He actually finally, he went late to Terry McLaurin. He had one big reception early, and then late, he's just scary Terry, let's go. But he was fantastic. Jaden Daniels, anytime he needed to rush, he sort of did. I think he had 40 yards on the ground. Not chaotic, but just perfectly balanced. So he throws for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It was the best game we've seen by a rookie QB this year. This is fantastic. He was so effing good because Austin Eckler got injured. Brian Robinson wasn't wildly efficient, but he kind of just kept moving the ball. Scary Terry ends up with 100 yards. You get 44 for Luke McCaffrey. Zach Ertz, the corpse of Zach Ertz is still out there, 38 yards. Whereas Cincinnati, you're yep, cool, Jamar Chase. That's about it. They kind of kept slinging it late as well because they had to because they were down so big. But Washington just held them off. It was fantastic. What an awesome game this was because I think on the ground, Eckler got in for their touchdown. Jaden Daniels ran one in and Brian Robinson did as well. And you're what happened to the Cincinnati defense? What are we doing? But awesome game.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the story. Is that Cincy defense? Fucking hell, mate! This is an adjusting rookie quarterback, and all the free agents that they picked up are in the second half of their lives, let alone their careers. And you're fucking how is this playoff defense allowing 38 points to the Commanders? Once as I came in late to the Bills game, when I turned this one on, I was expecting, it to be comfortable for the Bengals because this is where they'll start to warm up. And it was 28-10 Washington's way. And when you're hearing the broadcast towards the end of the third quarter, they're just cutting to Daniels going, show me a guy who's having more fun on the sidelines of James. He's just sitting there with his smirk on his face, just having the greatest time. Even if he lost that game, I reckon he would have just gone, I belong here. Yeah. Right? That's the key point. Washington have just gone through that many recycled bullshit fucking QBs over the last 5 or 6 years, and it looks definitely like they've found their guy.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. All right, that's all the games. Let's do some overreaction time again. I love this. 3-0 overreactions, 0-3 overreactions, 3-0. Are they for real? Pittsburgh? Yeah,
Nah, we still look. I still don't think they've faced anyone proper. I'm just waiting for it, Jim.
So, for real, could they still win the AFC North?
That AFC North is looking weird and wonky. It really it's problematic. It's gone from a powerhouse where we're going, we're just going to kind of, if Browns can wait it out until kind of Chubb gets back, and we can get in there. It's not going to happen. But yeah, look, I just think it's going to be weird. It's not great. That's all I'm trying to spit it out. Yeah,
they've given up 36 points this season.
That's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Pretty good. I believe in Pittsburgh way more than I did preseason because competent QB play, as I said, as long as Jussie Fields doesn't kill him, that defense is going to keep them in it. They do sort of feel it the same way as the Pats and stuff like that, where if you are down 10, you might be in a spot of bother. But I still believe that defense being one of the best out of all the units in the NFL, every team's offense, every team's defense, special teams, whatever. Pittsburgh's D is top 3 out of everything.
Yeah, they're not. But they haven't been, I guess, stats wizards. When we were trotting off all the stats before on the defenses on quarterback hits and sacks and tackles for loss, Pittsburgh aren't constantly up the top of that. It's just consistent pressure and just smothering defense, right?
Grind you into the dust. Minnesota, are they for real? Yeah, nah.
I'm starting to like the concept of it, Jim. I'd love that good news story this year of it going well, of Aaron Jones and that kind of, there's a bit of a rebirth stage of Minnesota. Like you said, Flores coming and making something of that defense, picking up his guys from former teams, and you've got Darnold and Jones and Jefferson getting a competent quarterback who's allowing him to do shit, right? So I kind of like the story. I want to believe that but it's also, they are going to have to run into a couple of teams in that division that you're like, oh, might make it tough when the division games come in hold.
That defense is giving up 30 points.
Wow.
There
you bloody go.
It's pretty good. Kansas City, are they for real? Yeah, nah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're picking the best team in the league at the moment and you're forced to pick one, you still have to pick them just on the fact that they haven't been bitten by the injury bug and they still feel like they're in second gear.
Yeah.
Right? You feel like there's a lot more to come.
Exact same as last year. It's so annoying. I'm like, this, every fucking person who wasn't a Pats fan felt, I guess, watching the patch. Like, this is
just tiring.
Yeah. Seattle, yeah, no.
I'm just not I don't feel as convinced by them. I mean, they're doing what is necessary, but just not as convinced.
Yep.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second half of that year. Harrison settles into that offense for Cardinals. We'll see what they do in the second half. 49ers get healthy. Rams are we going to get some players back and them have a real offense, but it could get squeaky in the second half. But for right now, they seem the most consistent.
So my favorite thing, I think, I was in big on Seattle early. I think the over-under was like 6.5. I'm like, fuck off. Buying. They already got 3.5. 3. I'm feeling. Finally, Buffalo. Yeah, no.
Based on today, I know that the Jags stink, but it was probably the most extended play that I've seen from them, and they're kind of exciting. I like it. Kincaid's great. Josh Allen's in his form at the moment. You just kind of, I think as we mentioned, we're just kind of waiting for it to drop because it never lasts for a full 17 weeks, does it? Full 17 games.
What about the 0-3 teams? Are these teams completely cooked? They're all, weirdly enough, there's 2 in the AFC South and the other team is still an AFC team as well. So Tennessee, yeah, nah.
Yeah, they're fucking terrible. Like, I think we said last week that they were cooked at 0-2 and it just doesn't get any better. We had a vote. We had false confidence in them this week, Jim. We thought, Malik Willis, as we said earlier, this is going to be at least you'll steal this one at home. Fucking nut. At least under Vrabel, they could play at home.
Exactly.
Right.
Jacksonville. Oh, geez. 0-3. Yeah, nah.
That's fucking look, going back to our week one, we assumed that they would regress to the mean, where another year of the Texans growing in, they were ahead of it themselves and they would struggle. The Jags would struggle as the Texans increased. But the Texans haven't increased by that much. Jacksonville have very much come back. Tennessee's fucking terrible. Like, that division in itself, like, I think at 0-3, you're not necessarily cooked because no one else has really been dominant. It could be one of those win 8 or 9 games and get a run in the second half and you squeak in, but mate, they're not doing any damage. Dougie P's gone. Like, it's they're starting to put the list together, of course.
Oh, yeah, they're cooked. Cincy, yeah, nah. 0-3 is a really big hole.
It is a big hole.
In the AFC North, we've got to play Baltimore still 2 more times. You've got just always tough division matchups. Like, it just sucks for Cincy.
They got to do something on that. They got to do something at defense. On defense, I don't know what it is, but they got to do something. T. Higgins would be helpful.
He played this week and he just did nothing. He did fuck
nothing.
all.
Yeah,
he was targeted so many times in that last drive, and it's just like, oh, it's over my head. Oh, I kind of caught it, but I was out of bounds. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but I mean, we know Cleveland's stinking. There's nothing saving them. Like, Chubb coming back at this point, big fucking deal. Steelers, I kind of expect it's gonna fall off a cliff at some point. You know, that whole second half, as we keep touching on, and Ravens seem the most I mean, they're even not consistent, but if they should be able to grind that out. So Bengals, I don't know, they could win enough to squeak through, but it's fucking tough from here.
Nice. With that in mind, this is the one that just keeps it's been just on my brain all this weekend. Do good quarterbacks really matter? Like elite, yes. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, rad. But I sort of like, everyone's why is scoring now? I'm like, because everyone's kind of a bit shit. Like, we don't need a QB. It's like, I kind of think everyone fucking needs a QB. Like, you look at Brock Purdy, like this perfectly sort of like decent, fine, and it's like, is he top fucking 5? Because he just doesn't fuck up that much. Like, this is kind of good. And you look at Sam Darnold, 3-0. You look at Baker, looked awesome the first 2 weeks, falls apart this week. Andy Dalton comes in, rips off 36 points on the fucking Raiders. Gardner Minshew looked okay, and then just looks shit again. Same with Deshaun Watson. Looks fucking horrible. Like, whatever. Danny Dimes looks shit 2 weeks. Looks good okay this week. Dak is like as you said, garbage time Dak. It's like, hey, guys, forget about how bad I was for the rest of this game. Look at this. Now the pressure's off. I'm slinging it. It's like, okay, is that good? Probably not. Bo Nix, okay-ish in today's game. Shit the first 2. Jazzy Fields, competent. Boom, they win a couple of games. Does it really matter, or is it more about your QB's competency in your system and your coach?
Yeah, so what you're saying is we're in the age of the game manager. In the Shanahan matters, that sort of stuff. The system matters to get the most out of you. But I mean, I'll use my own example. Hurts, as in his last 2 games, has had 75 and 76% of his passes completed. We were moving up and down the field, but Jim, we hadn't scored till the last quarter because it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're not converting on 4th down, you're turning the ball over, then you fucking cooked, right? Like, so yeah, look, not fucking up Darnold is a prime example. What, 4 touchdowns, but only 198 yards this week? Just control the ball, have a solid defense to get you the ball back, control the clock, and then get in the end zone when you need to.
It's like, so this is like, I kind of almost think of it as the Jared Goff corollary, right?
Yeah.
Where you're watching him just do his thing and throw the ball 1 millionth times, but it's wildly inefficient. And you're like, is this the best? Like, is he the best that we can do? If you had a slightly better version of Jared Goff, would you be the best team we've fucking seen? Or is just like this, the system is the system, and kind of almost whoever you had in that spot would just be similarly, I guess, inefficient at scoring points when it mattered. It's bizarre. It's weird. Anyway, leans into the idea of, hey, last one, is Trevor Lawrence bad? Yeah, no. He's 0-8 in his last 8 starts. What are we doing?
Yeah, look, they've tried to get him some weapons. Like, they tried to give him receivers to pass to, and I think we always say, was it a couple of weeks ago we compared him with Richardson, where the red zone quarterbacks, where you see, if you were just watching red zone, you'd be like, oh, these guys must be fucking sick, because when you see their pretty passes, you're like, oh, that's on point. But then what you miss is the whole bunch of fucking nothing in between.
Yeah, and that's what we get to watch today, right? You get to watch like the full game because it's a Monday night football game. It's only there's 2 games on, but you get this entire uninterrupted look at Trevor Lawrence. You're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like the interception, it's like, dude, what the it's like some of this stuff is just horrible. You're like, I don't think he's good. It's bizarre. Anyway, let's fly through the rest of this show because we are running fucking hell long. And Gaz is already 6, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Good bloke of the week. Who are we buying a beer? Malik Willis. That must have been awesome. Revenge. Buy him a beer. He'll be stoked with that. Xavier McKinney, speaking of Green Bay, 3 interceptions already for the season, which is silly. Nearest defender.
Glad I picked him up in my IDP for my fantasy draft, mate.
He's had 4 targets as the nearest defender. He's got 3 interceptions and 1 reception allowed for 8 yards.
That's pretty good.
Buying a beer for Damar Hamlin. Interception Jesus. Came back from the dead. Caught an interception. Not bad.
Yeah.
Do you reckon you can drink beers after you've had after you died and came back?
I think you should be able to drink whatever the fuck you want, Jim.
Mother's milk at that point. Trent Scott got the thick six. How good was that one as well? From the was it the commies? That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely awesome. Love a big guy touchdown. Flog of the week, aka old mate, no mate. All of the Raiders getting called out by business decision by Antonio Pierce. Minshew might get it in the neck as well. That's it took 1 week for it just to fall apart for the Raiders. That's hilarious. Trevor Lawrence just being hung out to dry by everybody now. Just like you got nowhere to hide.
No,
at this point, if you're just being this shit all the time, you've played a lot of football, 78 games or something. He's played now, dude. And then you've obviously got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. He never makes this list, and when I saw this stat, I was like, "Oh fuck, this is for all of the gambling aficionados out there, Jim." I thought you'd like this one. So, before anyone who watched the end of that Falcons game, technically, if he'd just taken a knee, it would have left 10 seconds on the clock. So when he was taking knees, he actually ran back a little bit, wasted a little bit of time before taking the knee. So before that, his over-under in rush yards, Jim, was 19.5 before that final drive. He was sitting on 30. Jim, those three kneels went for -5, -4, and -4 yards. That's -13. I know you're a maths magician, Jim.
But 30 minus 13 takes you below 19.5.
19.5. So everyone was cruising through, and he cost Vegas a lot of money, mate. A lot of money, because you were like, 9.5 for fucking Mahomes. I'm taking that. Yeah, that's not great. Didn't make any friends this week, Jim. So Patrick Mahomes makes our old mate no mates.
Aussie, Outback Takehouse. It's Tuesday at Outback. Squid and I just went and visited the dinosaur exhibition. It was sick. Guess what? We stole a T-Rex, then chopped it up and fucking cooked it out in the backyard. Boom. T-Rex steaks only at Outback. Today's Flame Grill take is last week's take as well. Doug Peterson will be the first coach fired. With the addendum of this week, it might be by fucking tomorrow. Only at Outback. Like, I said Peterson last week. I did not expect 47-10.
Yeah.
Bills. Now I'm just like, he's done.
He's giving up the ghost.
Fucking hell. Not great.
No, it's sad. He was, it was on a short leash when he was let go. The Eagles, it was a couple of seasons after the Super Bowl, and everyone went, fucking what?
Yep.
But once the coordinators, once you got rid of some coaches maybe get exposed. And he got a bit out of Lawrence. They were a playoff team last year. But this is not fucking great, mate.
You got a number one pick on offense as QB and on defense.
Yeah.
It's just, how are they this shit?
Makes no sense.
Aussie Battler of the Week, the Aussie Spotlight. Just a weird one this week for everybody. At least Torrey Taylor looked fine for Chicago, I guess.
Did Torrey Taylor get taken the fuck out?
Hits. I saw something.
Yeah, it was punting from the end zone, and they just took his legs out, and it looked fucking painful.
Yep. Anyway, we'll probably have I didn't watch in terms of the Saints game that against your dudes. I don't know what's really happening in this one. Geez, there's just a lot of punting. So I don't know. Outside of that,
no, my lad, mate, I can tell you now. Saquon Barkley he's just praising that O-line who's making him explode, because he's leading in screen charge or something. He's 450. I can't remember the stats. It's been 3 weeks. Sorry?
He's the favourite to win Offensive Player of the Year already.
So. If only I'd put money on him at 51-1, Jim, before the season started.
Well, bad. Yeah. Captain Fantasy. Who were the big ones this week? Juwan Jennings, 46.5. Bloody bad. Saquon ended up on 33.6. Kyron Williams, 31. Josh Allen had a massive one in the end before they just went, that'll do, pig. Sit down. Derrick Henry had over 30. Dak had 29. Rashee Rice had 29. Malik Neighbors, back-to-back huge weeks again as well. So probably he and Rashee Rice are like the biggest value wide receiver pickups that you could have gotten after the third round, fourth round.
Yep.
Like Malik Neighbors had sort of scooched up into that sort of third, fourth. I think by the time that we were drafting as well. Panic stations, to revisit this like week on week on week. I think a lot of this has sort of settled down. It's only injuries that are really fucking up a lot of people, right? Like Pacheco, Cooper Kupp, obviously CMC, Debo, etc. So Jamar Chase is back. He's fine. Tight ends in general are still really, really down, but I think Colt Kmet had a massive week out of nowhere.
Yeah. Dallas got it. 170 yards, 10 receptions. Yep.
Kelsey's still fucky. Like Laporta got hurt. Like Trey McBride's like it's just big question marks. But like the likes of Drake London, Amon Ra are back and okay. So like this is how it'll work. I think like you'll sort of see over the next 3 weeks. The offenses are slowly get better and better and better as they sort of figure their shit out.
Yeah, but anyone who wholesale picked up Miami offensive players, which includes myself, you're in a world of hurt, right?
Yeah, like those. It's just the injury related sort of stuff, right? It's like injury to your QB, you're fucked. That's Tyreek Hill. Even A-Chain like this week just didn't really get off the chain. So. Let's do some picks. Week 4. Not even a quarter of the way through the season yet, guys. That's not like it used to be. Week 4. We split last week 6 and 6. We had 4 different picks and we went 2 and 2 each. So not bad. Yeah. You still got a massive lead. 6 beer lead already. So I got a lot of slinging them back to do. Dallas at New York. Friday morning, the Giants are 4.5-point underdogs at home against the Cowboys. I was very tempted to take the Giants, but I feel like
me too.
I feel like the Cowboys have got like just one of those random games where they just go, "That's cute," bang, and just like ruin a team up their sleeve. The biggest problem is like the Dallas offense just doesn't fill me with that much confidence to cover a 4.5-point spread against basically anybody, and the Giants defense, like on the road in Cleveland, not bad, like. That was Cleveland though, so I feel like Dallas is a little bit better. Give me Dallas.
Yeah, there's a number of games here that I've really struggled with to the point where and this is one of the rounds where I picked before you because I'm sick of you going, yeah, fucking strategically doing it. I made sure that I put my picks in before I've seen yours. But there's a few games here that were just fucky, and this is one of them because I honestly don't know what to make from either of these teams because the secondary, the whole defense from Dallas looks fucking squirrely as. But also I don't think you should get false hope around the Giants. So I'm just going to stick with Dallas because just overall, I do believe that they're a double-digit win team.
Yep. Cincy at Carolina. I've gone Cincy. This is the bounce back 0-3. We can't be 0-4. Surely game. And then Andy Dalton at home. 4.5 points is a little bit too much, but I still think Cincy, with especially like uncorking Jamar Chase this week, could really F up Carolina. Yeah,
I don't want to get. I've taken Carolina. I don't want too much false hope in the Red Rifle because he is, the Andy Dalton meter kind of average quarterbacks. But I do 4.5 points seemed like a lot.
It's so squirrely.
Saw from them. So look, I think Cincy, this is where they start to claw back, a few games. But 4.5 is a lot of points for Carolina at home. So I think they might grind it out and keep it.
Denver at New York, Jets. 7.5-point favorites to the Jets. I hated this one too. I've gone Denver just because I think the defense is probably okay. The thing is the Jets defense could also just ruin Bo Nix. And if they get down, like it's hard to see them sort of clawing back. So
I really liked what I saw against the Jets D this week, and I think they've got enough in that secondary and that defensive line to just really confound Bo Nix. And they seem to click. Like he was the double-headed running back monster plus Aaron Rodgers starting to click with Wilson and those guys, the receivers. I think they'll have enough. 7.5 is a lot of points, but at home, I reckon they're going to take it.
Yeah, I hated that one. But the 7.5, I mean, Denver lost to the Steelers 13-6, 26-20 to the Seahawks. On the road again. We'll see what happens. Anyway, New Orleans, Atlanta. a classic week 4 matchup. I think I went to this game in week 4, like in 2018 or whatever it was, and it was just one of the loudest things I've ever been to, and I've been to a few gigs in my time. 1.5 point favorites of the Dirty Birds. We've both got Atlanta. It feels just like, you saw last week the shine just off the Saints that little bit. Atlanta looked pretty competent, but how competent? This game was really tough. I wanted to go New Orleans, but I probably trust Atlanta a little bit more to at least back up last week.
Yeah, so many squirrely games in this slate.
Anyway, moving on. Let's go.
I just didn't know. Once again, like Atlanta stayed with the Eagles. Atlanta stayed with the Chiefs, and they weren't overwhelming in either. Like the run game, like Bijan this week was not fucking great. New Orleans kind of got found out and we're still trying to work out, was it just that they played some really average defenses? I just don't fucking know. So I went the home team.
That's it. And like, because it's only 1.5, I feel okay about that as well, right? It was 2.5, I'd be like, Minnesota at Green Bay, big NFC North battle. That obviously is an NFC South battle as well. Minnesota, Green Bay, 2.5 point favorites are the Packers. I'm going Green Bay.
I think this was
that 2.5 sounds like it. They feel like Jordan Love will play in that one because
no, there's a couple of things here where I'm like, I feel like we're picking too early. And this is one of those games where I'm like, who the fuck's playing?
2.5 point favorites. So I had that right. That's weird.
Yeah. So not really sure about this one, but look, on the back of that, I really do like how Minnesota's defense is playing, and I think they're a stronger defense if it is against Willis. If that changes to Love, I might be doing a U and flipping my pick at the end of the week. But I've kind of done this on the back.
I'm honestly talking myself into Minnesota because, as I said, they've given up 30 points this year. Pittsburgh, we're both gone Pittsburgh. The Colts are 1.5 point underdogs at home, which is pretty crazy. I was really tempted to take Indy in this one as well because I'm like, if they get up, can Pittsburgh catch them? At the same time, I'm like, Indy's defense is just not great. Maybe Pittsburgh will just do enough and their defense is good enough to slow them down. So
that's kind of what I was thinking. I haven't really seen any level of consistency from Richardson and Indy this year so far. And I think that Pittsburgh defense can be staunch enough. And Jazzy can maybe just do enough if he continue how he played this week rather than week 1 and 2. It might be just enough.
Houston, another in-division matchup. AFC South. Houston, 6.5 point favorites against the Jags. That is probably higher than it is now.
That seems horrible. That like Houston played a shit game this week.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously Jacksonville did. So but 6.5 points is a lot.
It's actually now gone to 5.5, which barely makes sense in my brain, but here we are. I'm still sticking with Houston.
Yeah. Like if that keeps coming down for whatever reason, I would like to stick with Houston. But I think they'll take that at home. They're a better team. But yeah, if it's 6.5, does seem like a lot of points.
Chicago host the Rams. As mentioned, no Cooper Kupp. I've gone the Rams. I don't want to trust Chicago with 3.5. Like even if they win this, it feels like that offense has been so bloody pop gun that it'd be like 20-17. But also, I could just see the ass falling out of the Rams. So I hated picking this one.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I've gone the Rams. You've got Chicago.
Yeah, look, I've gone again. Full strength. I know it'd go the other way, but Rams have just got so many holes, and I know that they took it to the Niners this week. But as we said, there's that whole coaching thing and their systems and knowing each other. And I'm just going to put nothing into that division matchup. And I'm just going to say, look, on paper, the horses from Chicago are better.
Especially at home. It could be a big game for them. Philly at Tampa Bay, rematch of last year's playoffs. The Bucs are 2.5 point underdogs against the Eagles. We're both gone Philly.
Yeah, so many of these I sighed before. Look, this is the same team that tore us apart in the playoffs. Obviously, completely different offensive coordinator, completely different defensive system. Before this week, like before the games that happened, I would have thought Tampa Bay would be favourites by a long way. But I think hopefully the continuation of our defense, Smitty will be all right. Saquon will keep going. We didn't have a strong run game when we played them last year. So, yeah, fingers crossed we just don't turn the fucking ball over and don't get to fourth and dumb decision for Sirianni. Fourth and dumb. We'll call it fourth and dumb, Jim.
I still reckon this is like 2017 Philly and they just cover. Pats at the Niners. 9.5-point favorites of the Niners, which feels pretty big.
This is another one that's got an asterisk on it because who the fuck's playing for the Niners? We've got no idea when Purdy's day to day.
If it's not Purdy, you can probably swing it to the Pats. 9.5 though, if the Niners at least have Purdy under center, you feel okay-ish because I just don't think the Pats can hang with them. So
it'd almost be worth putting money on now on the Pats, just under the assumption that it'll be worth your while if
nothing comes back from 9.5.
No one comes back. Yeah.
Yep. We've both gone the Niners either way. Washington, Arizona. This game should be awesome. Baden Daniels versus Kyler Murray. We're both gone Washington after today, which is a bit weird. Arizona looked pretty solid. 4.5-point favorites at home. It's the 4.5 that got me for Washington. I think
that's it. I think they can cover it. I think, they're showing a little bit. Look, one of the commitments from the media this week was they said, we are going to go out of our way to get McLaurin the ball more. He's our number one receiver and he fucking barely touched it the first 2 weeks. So if that connection starts to increase, Jalen Daniels is a bit more balanced. However, that Arizona, Marvin Harrison's only going to get more and more involved. So, yeah, look, I think Washington will cover.
Like it. Cleveland Raiders. We're both going Cleveland just because I think the Raiders are just we don't know what's going on, man.
I also don't know what's going on with Cleveland. That defense hasn't been as advertised. It's not what it says on the tin. There's no run game for Cleveland. There's no quarterback for Cleveland. But what the fuck? This Vegas team took out Ravens and then shit the bed. Also, I don't fucking know. But it just seems logical to pick Cleveland when it's only half a point. And
when the Raiders are just imploding, who knows?
Yeah.
KC Chargers, another division game. I've gone the Chargers plus 7.5. I don't actually like that much, but that's just because the Chiefs don't tend to cover these big lines. It's just weird, but they just don't
blow out teams. I think we don't know. Do we know if there's another asterisk game? Do we know if Jazzy's playing?
Asterisk. No idea. So I'm just going, fuck it. Chargers, if Herbs is out there, they're in with a chance to at least keep that close. You've gone KC.
Yeah, look, I like what KC have been doing on defense. I think if Chris Jones and team can keep that D-line staunch and really schedule it on that run game, then they may, he doesn't have a lot of weapons on the outside. So I think just Mahomes will go on his merry way. But as you said, they don't blow the doors off teams. So anyway, I'm just going to stick with KC for this one because it makes sense, Jim.
Yeah, it's in LA. That doesn't make any fucking difference either. So Buffalo, Baltimore. I've gone Baltimore at home, 1.5-point favorites. You've gone Buffalo.
Yeah, look, the Buffalo defense was pretty good. I know Trevor was shit, but, even with Etienne and all that sort of stuff, they kept him pretty well in check. There's going to be a lot taller task this week against Baltimore. But Baltimore let a pretty average Cowboys team back in. So I feel like this could be open to Buffalo to really keep their run going and show a few people up.
That's an awesome Sunday night football game, though. Holy
fucking
shit.
oath. Yeah, what a game.
And we've got 2 more Monday night games, which is pretty crazy. This one's a stinker, though. Tennessee at Miami. I've gone Tennessee just because they're going to get one. In Miami against reach for the Skylar Thompson, maybe. He did get knocked out of that game against the Seahawks. Tim Boyle came in. You're like, Jesus. Bottom of the barrel. You've got Miami. I've gone Tennessee. I think they just have to get one.
Yeah, look, I just want Miami's defense to be somewhat competent. They're just the weapons, even with an average quarterback, the weapons on the outside, the weapons for Miami are better on paper. And Tennessee have just really shown fuck all. I'm just waiting on Levis to implode if he still has his job.
Yep. Seattle, Detroit, awesome. So it's good that so Tennessee, Miami shit, but we then get also Seattle, Detroit, which is rad.
That's going to be cracker.
Lions are 4.5 point favorites. We've both gone the Lions. I think if Leonard Williams and Murphy are out as well, it's just probably a little bit too much for the Seattle defense. So give me the Lions to win by like a touchdown.
In Detroit, we'll find out a bit about these teams and when they're playing some real opposition this week. I think it'll be good.
Nice one. All right. That is week 4 set up for you. Before we go, the actual NFL Straya Legends League fantasy update as well. You made Jaymz 2-1, feeling great. But I mean, Josh is on top. What's going on there?
Jesus Christ. He hasn't messaged me about that yet. So
he's 3-0. It's insane. He beat me in week 1. I'm similar as you, right? 2-1.
Yep.
And this is like just the classic NFL Straya Legends League is super competitive. We've got 1 3-0 team, 1 0-3 team. Everybody else is 2-1 or 1-2. So pretty chaotic. It's very, very competitive. Very, very cool.
It's definitely one of those. As we're the same as everyone else, mate. It's who can be bitten by the injury bug the least. So yeah, he's starting Baker. There you go, he's starting QB. But he had Dallas Goedert this week, and Saquon. Fucking hell, and Neighbors. Jesus Christ, that's why Josh is doing all right. Neighbors, Barkley, got it. That'll do it.
Good. I think Keegan got a win. Ricky Williams, Veggie Patch got a win. You scored 91 points, but beat nowhere to go but up. Who scored 61?
Yeah, what it all came down to for me was I had Josh Allen this week. Yeah.
Nice. Rogers got smashed by All We Need Is Love and the Bears and Purgatory, which is Josh crushing it. So there is nowhere to go but up. Oh, Zach. Ooh, that's a tough one. Yep. Yeah. Nice one. All right, that'll do us for this week. That is episode 103 of NFL Straya in the bag. Week 3 done. Skis week 4 ahead. We'll have a couple of other little bits and bobs throughout the week. Obviously, keep an eye out for some more videos and gear. I'll be back in the studio tomorrow and went Thursday. So there is a quick week 4 preview that'll go out on Thursday too, which is just me yelling for 6 minutes.
Yep.
Which is really fun. I like that. So make sure you do check a follow across the Facey, Twitter, IG, but most especially the YouTube. That has been popping off, which is sick.
Mate, it's good. We seem to be picking up 100 subscribers a week, which, for some little know nothing guys from Melbourne, I'm not arguing with that.
So jump in the comments, any questions, any NRs, sling them at us.
Everyone's got a lot to say about your power rankings, Jim.
Oh yes.
I just sit there and watch. I'm just here for the comments. Just grab the popcorn,
have a crack.
Yep.
Because I'm not wrong. Prove me fucking wrong. Simple as that. Fang a rating review on the Apple Podcasts, on your YouTube Music, and of course Spotify and gear. If you haven't rated and reviewed it, what are you doing? You're taking the piss at this point. So big thanks always go to House Hats for the intro and outro song. They rule. And get around the AFL Today Show, the AFLW Today Show. Big week this week, obviously. We've got the AFL Today Show Grand Final Special, which will be live on Thursday night. That's going to be radical. We've got a Midweek Madness show tomorrow as well. We did the Brownlow yesterday. Gee, I'm rooted. This sucks. We've got football today if you love your soccer. NBA Straya will be back soon as well. And you've also got Hold All tickets if you like your GGs. Guys, you got any plugs?
Oh, no. I said that I was going to spruik my marathon. Which having a cold this week has not helped. But 3 weeks out from the Melbourne Marathon, still trying to hit a bit of a charity target. And I'm giving it away to Berry Street, underprivileged kids, people who aren't born in the situation that some of us, can't just sit here on a Tuesday night and run a podcast, mate. So, yeah, if I can help out any little bit that I can, I'm definitely going to put it up this week after we spruik the episode. And then anyone who wants to contribute, I'm thinking of running it. I'm not going to run an Eagles jersey because fuck that. But I might run something branded, just so someone can point out and go, aren't you that dickhead from that fucking YouTube show that I never watch?
Is that Garrington? Nice one. All right, there you go. Let's do it. 103 done. Week 3 done. Week 4 ahead. We will catch you in a bit, you dickheads.
See yas.
Later.